Welcome into Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and we have some winners, and boy, do we have some losers from the Seahawks Week 3 preseason game against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. Before we get into any of that, though, I want to make sure that I thank everyone who is subscribed to the channel. And for those of you who are not, you need to subscribe to the channel. We're at over 69,000 subscribers right now. Every single day, we are making sure here at Seahawks Today that we are getting out Seahawks content, whether it's in VOD form or in shorts. You are going to get all of your latest news and information on your Seattle Seahawks here on Seahawks Today, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Obviously, Seattle did not look good for the most part. That being said, I want to make sure I get into some winners first because this is a positivity channel. Seattle, of course, falling 22-7 to the Packers. Jacardia Wright is my first winner for this Seahawks team. He came in and absolutely balled out. He only had 5 carries, but boy, did he make the most of them. 65 yards, that's absolutely massive. I know that the average for him isn't super high in this one. It's high, but when you look at someone who had 65 yards, you realize that most of them did come on one long run. That being said, for Wright, he's a player that probably isn't going to be a starter or, frankly, make the roster here in Seattle. He's a type of player that needed a big game so that way he can find a chance to make it on with someone else or potentially make it onto a practice squad with Seattle. Obviously, right now, he's that fourth running back, kind of on the outside looking in. But I do think he's had a fairly productive preseason with Seattle. Had multiple rushes, close to 50 yards in that game against Kansas City. I thought he looked very competent from back in that position, catching the ball out of the backfield as well as rushing the football against the Raiders. I think that Wright has earned himself a position to stay in the National Football League. There are going to be players who played in this football game against the Packers and for the Packers, frankly, that will never suit up again. They will never play football again. Jacardier Wright, he's not one of those guys. He has great vision. He found the openings in this offensive unit. He found where his offensive linemen were putting the defensive players. Had a big run in this one. Has the speed to break away. Not quite that blazing Usain Bolt speed, but I would say that he does pretty well, probably closer to a Tyson Gay, right? Where he's going to get ahead of most people, but maybe not everyone. I think that he put himself in a position to where he is going to continue to collect paychecks from the NFL. I hope it's with Seattle. I can't guarantee that, but I would say that Wright was a winner in this game. Now, I know that this player didn't play in this game. Dalton Risner is a winner in this one. Now, my reasoning for that, if you do not know, Seattle brought in Dalton Risner as a workout candidate to kind of kick the tires on the guard, see what he's got going on. He last played last year in Minnesota with the Vikings, was originally drafted by the Denver Broncos. And originally when I saw Risner come in and work out, I said, well, Seattle doesn't need him. Who cares? Like, it's just a waste of money. I think that you already have the good backups here on the team. Why would you bring someone in that could mess with all of that cohesiveness as well as the chemistry that offensive line has showed? Then I watched this game. That backup unit had left a lot to be desired. Milroe was sacked multiple times. As well as Wright played and Martinez played, they were still having to get past 2 or 3 Green Bay Packers defensive players before they even got to the line of scrimmage. It felt like that offensive line took a gigantic step back. Now, that wasn't the first string offensive line, mind you. That was the backup, so that is important to remember. But this is where Risner comes in for the Seattle Seahawks offensive line unit. He would be a backup for you. Understand that in the offensive line room, you never have a group of 5 players in the trenches that stay healthy the entire year. You are going to have to use multiple players on that offensive line unit throughout the season. It just is the way it goes. And if you don't trust Christian Haynes, you don't trust guys like Olu Oluwatimi, then this is the perfect spot for Risner. Now, I'm not saying that he comes in and is an instant swing guard for you necessarily, but it does feel like Risner got the tires kicked on him because Seattle knows that that second unit isn't where it needs to be. So Dalton Risner is a big winner in this one. He already had multiple teams clamoring for him. Now it feels like the price went up for Seattle because they know that they have to have him if this second unit is going to continue to look like it did in this game, which I honestly felt like was a gigantic step back and looked more like last year's. Jared Ivey, gigantic winner. Gigantic winner in this one. My reasoning for Jared Ivey being a huge winner in this one, he led the team in tackles, 9, almost got to double digits. That's huge for a guy playing in that defensive line. He had a QB hit. He wasn't quite able to bring down the Packers quarterback, but you know who came in and cleaned up the mess there? That was Alfonso Tupatala, the local kid. Federal Way Eagles. Shout out. Here's my thing with Jared Ivey, right? Everyone was shocked that he fell in the draft. He ended up going as a UDFA because he didn't work out well. Tell you what, right now, he plays football well. Sometimes there are players that they don't test well. For whatever reason, they can't jump as high as people expect them to. They can't run as fast as people expect them to. But for whatever reason, when they get out on the field, they ball out. Jared Ivey's been that guy. We've been talking about it on the channel the last couple weeks of will Ivey make the team, won't he? And I continue as I get more and more information about him and get to see him play, the more and more I think that he will make this roster. Now, he's probably going to be that 52nd, 53rd guy. But when you have performances like he's had, I don't think that Seattle can cut Ivey and trust that he will be there when they go and try and make a practice squad signing. I feel like at this point, Ivey has shown enough that he is going to be needed to be used sparingly, right? This is a guy that you use in run-stopping situations early on, but as he continues to grow, he will be a key point to this defensive unit out in Seattle. Cody White is my last winner. He only had 3 catches in this one. And you might say to yourself, Will, 3 isn't a whole lot. Well, he made the most of those 3. He ended up having 69 yards, nice, in this game. And every single catch was in a key moment. When they had a 3rd and long, Milroe needed to find a wide receiver to keep the drive going. Who'd he find? Found Cody White. When Seattle was in the high red zone, they're trying to get a touchdown. Who does Milroe find? Cody White. He makes a couple guys miss, and he gets into the end zone for Seattle's lone touchdown in this game. And he had another catch in there where he had a nice long gain. I feel like Cody White put himself in a position to, again, he will be collecting checks in the NFL. Now, when you look at the wide receiver depth, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Cooper Kupp, Torrey Horton, obviously they're good to go. As much as I've been standing on the table that Marcus Valdes-Scantling should be traded, I don't think that that's going to end up happening. That probably means that he is still going to be on your roster. So now you're looking at a position for 3 guys. Frankly, I think White is the 3rd guy in that between Bobo and Young. And who knows, they might not even take a 6 wide receiver. So it really might be Jake Bobo's position, and Young and White are trying to make a practice squad. If Seattle ends up cutting White, I think that he ends up making a practice squad either with them or with someone else. This is the type of performance that shows, hey, you have flashes of genius. His ability to work on special teams, which White has shown he can do as well, shows that there will be a team that needs to sign him. I would love for him to stay in Seattle. Go be on the practice squad for the Seahawks. There will be injuries on that wide receiver unit. You could get called up. All of that being said, I don't think that he necessarily ends up in Seattle. I will guarantee, a Will Ortner guarantee, that he'll be collecting an NFL paycheck again. That's how much he impressed me in this one. I want you to let me know, who's your biggest winner from week 3? I think right now, in my eyes, it's Jared Ivey. He went from a guy who was a fringe roster cut candidate to, honestly, I think he made the squad. I don't see Seattle moving on from him after that performance. You let me know who you think it is in the comments. Now, I do have some losers here, and unfortunately, the person that I was most excited to see, Jalen Milroe, is my biggest loser in this one. He didn't look good in this game. Every time he could make a mistake, it seemed like he did. We have his stat line up. 13 for 24. Not a math guy. That's not a great completion percentage. He had 148 yards. That's fine. Pedestrian at best. A touchdown. That doesn't show the real stats, the real issues. 3 fumbles in this game. He was careless with the football. One of the sacks, hey man, I get it. You didn't see a guy coming off the edge. He got your arm. You're trying to make a play, trying to throw. I don't love it, but those types of fumbles happen from time to time. You are sneaking the ball on 4th down, and you got the 1st down. Hold on to the ball with 2 hands and go to the ground. There's no reason to fight for extra yards with the ball way out here. If you've already fumbled once not expecting to get hit, you cannot allow yourself to get caught off guard again and fumble again in the pocket. Multiple times in this game, those turnovers led to Green Bay points. It felt like Milroe finally got the training wheels taken off, and he had the ability to take shots and to be risky with the football. And he took all of the wrong opportunities in this game. instead of building on the things that we had seen him show in the past, instead of taking an extra step forward, being a more complete quarterback, it felt like he regressed to Alabama. This is why everyone talked about him being a potential really good player in the NFL if he figures it out. This is why that Alabama team with Kalen DeBoer last year had the highs of beating Georgia, but the lows of losing to Oklahoma, the lows of losing to Vanderbilt. He has moments where he is great, but he also has moments like he showed against the Green Bay Packers where he is not. And that leaves a lot to be desired. I was very, very disappointed in Milroe, and that was a loser performance for him. That doesn't mean he's a loser. That performance was, though. The defense. Frankly, if it wasn't Jared Ivey, I didn't love what you were doing defensively. When Jared Ivey was in the backfield, I felt like you were making plays. When Malik Willis was out there and you had that 2 unit for the Green Bay Packers, they moved the ball all over on you. When they needed a big run, they got it. When they needed a big pass, they got it. They continued to move forward against your defense, and frankly, I didn't feel like you stopped anybody. Now, again, to be fair, this isn't your first unit, right? But when Malik Willis is 3 for 6, and I feel like every time he needed a big completion, there was an easy open target. He missed one throw to Golden where he frankly just threw it a little bit high. Golden was open. He was there. He got a touchdown. It was a great interception that Okudah had against him on, I believe it was his first or second throw of the game. Other than that, I didn't feel like the defense played all that well. They need to continue to improve getting after the passer. Again, it feels like the depth is an issue. I want to pump the brakes a little bit. I don't want to continue to beat a dead horse here. It was the second unit. It was a backup unit. You need to play better than what you played defensively. I am worried if you have a couple injuries. Tyrese Knight still hasn't practiced, right? Uchenna Nwosu, he still hasn't practiced. These are guys that are coming off of injuries, let alone whatever injuries that you are going to suffer as the season continues. That second unit needs to be better and needs to play at a higher level. And frankly, I didn't think that they did. My last loser is the second offensive line unit. I already kind of touched on it when we talked about Dalton Risner. I think there were a lot of guys that, frankly, lost some respect from me. I had them held up to a higher standard, and I didn't think that they played at that level. When you have a second offensive line unit in the NFL, you need guys that you can trust. Hey, they're not going to be the starters. They are going to miss some of the harder reach blocks. They are going to lose one-on-one battles sometimes when they go against the likes of a Max Crosby or a Chris Jones, right? Sometimes guys are better than you. Unfortunately, in this one, I felt like there were a lot of mental errors as well. Now, maybe some of that is on Milroe, and he's not aligning his guys in the proper spots. Maybe some of that is because these guys are not going to be around this team. Maybe that's why Seattle looked at Risner. And don't be shocked if they continue to look at veterans, guys who may get cut in the next coming days. Seattle might have some workouts with some offensive linemen that can help build up that second unit and continue to push that unit forward. I felt like there was some disappointing play, and they need to continue to build that O-line unit. You are going to have injuries there. I've already said that. So you have to be able to have players that you trust. Right now, I don't know that I trust anyone on that second unit after today's performance. Maybe it's a little bit of me being overly worried, but in my eyes, when you look like that against the Packers, second and third stringers, you need to start looking at potentially bringing other people in. You need iron sharpening iron, and right now you don't have that. What do you say? Am I way off base here? Is Jalen Milroe your biggest loser? Is it somebody else? Maybe I'm too hard on the defense. Maybe I'm too hard on the offensive line. Let me know. Sound off in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's winners and losers on Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Make sure that you're tuning in every single day. We're going to have Seahawks content brimming out the wazoo with this channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time.